She had 300,000 followers. She was beautiful, ambitious, and living her dream as a rising TikTok star. But on September 11, 2025, Yoon was found dead on a secluded mountain in South Korea, and her killer wasn't a stranger. It was someone she trusts, someone who had spent nearly $100,000 on her. Today, we're breaking down the chilling story of how obsession, lies, and financial desperation led to one of South Korea's most shocking crimes. This is the case of Yoon. Before the tragedy, Junji was living the life many people dream about. In her late 20s, reports say she was between 27 and 30 years old. She had become a rising influencer in South Korea's highly competitive digital entertainment space. With over 300,000 followers on TikTok, she wasn't just another content creator. She was someone with ambition, talents, and genuine dreams. But here's what made Yoon different. She wasn't just chasing fame for vanity. She had bigger dreams. She wanted to become an actress. Social media was her stepping stone, her way into the entertainment industry. Every live stream, every video, every interaction with her fans was building her brand, creating opportunities. She streamed regularly on video platforms, connecting with her audience in real time. She had built a loyal community, people who watched her, supported her, and wanted to see her succeed. On the surface, everything looked perfect. The rising star, the supportive fans, the path to success seemingly laid out before her. But behind that polished screen, darker forces were already at work. Now let's talk about the man at the center of this tragedy. We'll call him Chu. That's what police identified him as. He was a man in his 50s who would eventually become Yoon Jia's killer. But to understand how this happened, we need to understand who Chui really was, because nothing about him was what it seemed. On the surface, Chui had the perfect persona. He presented himself to Yoon Jia as successful IT company CEO. Impressive, right? Someone with connections, resources, and the ability to help her career. He had money, also everyone thought. Online, he was even more impressive. He went by an alias Black Cat, and on live streaming platforms, he was a legend among top donors. He was a VIP patron, one of the elite few who spent astronomical amounts of money supporting streamers. We're talking about serious money here. To put this in perspective, Chewy was ranked at level 46 out of 50 on TikTok's donor scale. To reach that level, industry insiders confirmed you need to spend at least 100 million Korean won. That is about approximately $73,000 to $100,000. Think about that for a moment. One man donating nearly six figures to support content creators. He was known as a big spending VIP, the kind of fan that every streamer dreams about, the dream patron. Here's the shocking truth. Almost nothing about Chewy was real. Yes, he presented himself as a successful CEO, but he was drowning in debt, massive suffocating debt. And on the very day of the crime, September 11th, his house was seized through a forced auction. His entire facade was collapsing. Think about the psychological crisis happening here. A man who had built an identity around being ultra wealthy, ultra successful, and ultra generous was about to lose everything. His house was being taken away. His businesses were failing. The money was running out. But more importantly, his careful constructed image was crumbling. And that's where Yoon Jia came into his life. Chui approached her with a business proposal. He promised to be her agent, her partner, her ticket to greater success. He told her he could increase her follower count, boost her career, and help her achieve her dreams of becoming an actress. But what started as a business arrangement quickly transformed into something much darker. Obsession. Chui became fixated on Yoon, and his fixation came with unprecedented financial support. He donated continuously, spent freely, and made sure she knew exactly how much he was investing in her. And in them, for Yoon Jia, this attention was flattering at first. Here was this seemingly wealthy, successful businessman who believed in her so much that he was willing to spend six figures supporting her. What could go wrong? Everything. As weeks and months passed, the nature of Chewy's involvement in Yoonji's life became increasingly unhealthy. What started as generous support transformed into controlling behavior. Chewy wasn't just a patron anymore. He wanted to dictate what she did, what she streamed, who she talked to, and how she managed her career. He gave coercive instructions. He imposed unreasonable schedules. He demanded access and attention that went far beyond what any legitimate business partner would require. Here is the psychological trap that Yoon found herself in. She had accepted his help. She had allowed him into her professional life. She had, in a sense, become dependent on the opportunities and support he promised. And now he was leveraging that dependency to control her. This is a pattern we see in abusive relationships. The perpetrator provides something the victim wants or needs, then uses that provision as a tool for control. In this case, it was financial support and career opportunities. Yoon began to feel suffocated. The controlling behavior, the demands, the surveillance, it was becoming unbearable. She started to feel trapped, unable to make her own decisions, constantly monitored and managed by Chewy. By late summer 2025, Yutia had had enough. She made a decision that would seal her fate. She wanted to end the partnership. She wanted out. She told Chewy that she could no longer work with him. She cited his controlling behavior, his unreasonable demands, and the toxicity of their arrangement as reasons. According to her family, she had confided in them about his domineering conduct. She was ready to sever ties and move forward with her career on her own terms, but Chewy wasn't willing to accept that rejection. On September 11th, 2025, what was supposed to be a normal day turned into a nightmare. Yoon was doing what she did best, streaming. She was broadcasting live from Yeonjong Island in Incheon, entertaining her 300,000 followers, doing the job she loved. She had no idea that this stream would be her last. At approximately 2:57 p.m., her live stream ended. She wrapped up her broadcast, thanked her viewers, and signed off. She was headed to meet someone. That someone was Chewy. CCTV footage captured what happened next, and what it reveals is absolutely chilling. After her live stream ended, Chewy approached Yoon, but this wasn't a calm business conversation. CCTV footage shows Chewy on his knees, begging, literally kneeling before Yoonjia, pleading with her not to leave him, not to end their partnership. He was desperate. His house was being auctioned off that very day. His entire life was collapsing. His only remaining source of control, his connection to Yoonjia, was slipping away. Yoon rejected his pleas. She was done. She had made her decision. At approximately 3:27 p.m., just 30 minutes after her live stream ended, CCTV cameras captured the final moments of Yoonjia's life. She tried to exit Chewy's car. She wanted to leave. She walked away from this nightmare once and for all. But Chewy had other facts. The door slammed shut. Yoon was forcibly pulled back into the vehicle. What witnesses saw on the footage was a woman being prevented from escaping, being held against her will. What happened next was unspeakable. Inside that car, Chewy attacked her. He strangled her. He beat her. According to the autopsy report, he compressed her neck with enough force to cut off her oxygen. Yoonjia lost consciousness. She stopped breathing, and within minutes, she was gone. Her cause of death determined to be asphyxiation due to neck compression, but the nightmare wasn't over. After murdering Yoon, Chewy didn't panic or turn himself in. Instead, he executed a calculated plan to cover his tracks. He grabbed a suitcase and drove toward Muju Country in North Jeolla Province, a location over 3 hours away from where the murder occurred, a place Yoon had no personal connection to. Along the way, he made 8 deliberate stops, 8 different locations where he paused, likely attempting to create a false trail to confuse investigators and buy himself time. He drove to a secluded mountain area in Mujo Country where he abandoned Yoon's body in a grassy field. He left her there, alone, covered in bruises and marks of strangulation. like discarded trash. Then he waited. Family members and close contacts became concerned when she did not respond or show up as expected, prompting them to report her missing. Hours after Yoon Jia's body was discovered on the mountain, police launched an intensive investigation. The circumstances were immediately suspicious. A young woman found dead with signs of severe trauma, a location far from her home, and a timeline that didn't add up. Police quickly identified Chui as the primary suspect. Within 12 hours of Yunjia's body being found, he was arrested. When first confronted by police, Chui maintained his innocence. He denied any involvement in Yunjia's death. He clearly didn't know what happened. He played the victim, feigning shock and confusion. But police had evidence. Witnesses had seen him. CCTV footage placed him at the scene. The timeline was airtight, and most damning of all, Yunji's body had been found, and forensic evidence would eventually prove what happened. When police informed Chui that Yunji's body had been discovered and that forensic analysis was underway, his denial crumbled. He confessed. He admitted to murdering Yunjia. He admitted to the strangulation, to dragging her lifeless body, to abandoning her on that mountain. He gave a full account of what happened on September 11. Chui faced serious charges: premeditated murder, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and his own confession sealed his fate. Yunjia's death sent shockwaves through South Korea and the world. Social media exploded with grief, anger, and calls for justice. Her family released the heartbreaking statements, "Our beloved Jia has left us." It is incredibly painful to share this news amid such overwhelming sadness. Jia was always a radiant presence, warmly connecting with others and deeply cherishing her family. Though Jia is no longer with us, her love, laughter, and kind spirit will forever reside in our hearts. Yunji's murder did more than spark grief. It sparked a critical conversation about the dark side of influencer culture. The case exposed several troubling realities. First, it revealed how financial manipulation can be used as a tool of control. Chui's massive donation weren't acts of genuine support. They were investments in control, in ownership, and the ability to dictate Yunji's life. Second, it highlighted the vulnerability of content creators, especially those who rely on VIP patrons for income and opportunities. The blurred boundaries between fan, patron, business partner, and personal relationship created a dangerous dynamic that Yunjia couldn't escape. Third, it exposed the psychological toll of obsessive fan behavior when combining financial power and access. A fan with surplus of money and declining mental health can become a legal threat. The case prompted urgent discussions about creator safety, harassment prevention, and the need for stronger legal protections for influencers. Platforms, content creators, and industry experts all began examining how to better protect vulnerable creators from obsessive, dangerous individuals. Social media users worldwide share their own stories of harassment, control, and manipulation by excessive fans. And Yunji's case became a rallying point of change. While Chui confessed and was arrested, the legal process continued. The case raised questions about mental health screening, early intervention for obsessive behavior, and how society addresses the intersection of wealth, obsession, and violence. Yunji's mother and family had to endure not only the loss of a beloved daughter and sister, but also the public scrutiny, the media coverage, and the painful details of how she died. They were left to pick up the pieces of a shattered life. Yunji's case forces us to confront uncomfortable truth about modern digital culture. First, the parasocial relationship. Fans develop intense parasocial relationship with creators, one-sided emotional connections where the fan feels a deep bond with the creator. Even though the relationship isn't reciprocal, when these parasocial relationships intersect with obsessive behavior and financial resources, they can become dangerous. Chu wasn't just a fan. He had built an entire identity around being Yoonji's supporter. When she tried to end that relationship, he lost not just a connection to a creator, he lost his sense of self, his purpose, and his relevance. Second, The wealth paradox. Chui's immense wealth or perceived wealth gave him access and influence that he shouldn't have had. He could present himself as a successful businessman. He could promise opportunities that seemed real. He could create a sense of obligation and dependency in Yoon. But his wealth was built on illusions, and when those illusions started cracking, his desperation became lethal. Third, the warning signs. Looking back at this case, they were warning signs. Chui's controlling behavior, his coercive instructions and unreasonable demands, his financial manipulating, and the implicit obligation created, his inability to accept rejection or boundaries, and also his obsessive attachment combined with financial desperation. These warning signs are often present in cases of relationship violence, stalking, and obsessive behavior, but they are frequently overlooked and rationalized away, especially in digital spaces where the dynamics are harder to see. Fourth, the system failures. This case also reveals systemic failures. First, platform didn't employ adequate safety measures for high-level donors with access to creators. There were no warning systems for financial coercion or obsessive patron behavior. Law enforcement didn't intervene early enough to prevent the tragedy, and mental health services weren't accessible to someone showing such clear signs of crisis and obsessive behavior. Fifth, irresponsibility question. Finally, this case raises a difficult question. Where is the line between responsibility for platform companies, content creators, and society at large? Do platforms have a responsibility to screen high-level donors? Should they implement relationship guidelines between creators and wealthy patrons? Should creators receive training or recognizing and responding to red flags? These are questions that the influencer industry is still grappling with. Yoon was on her late 20s when she died. She had dreams of becoming an actress. She had a family who loved her. She had 300,000 followers who believed in her talents and rooted for her success. She was building a future. She was climbing toward her goals. And then it was all taken away, not by a random tragedy, but by a man who couldn't accept that he couldn't control her. A man whose obsession and desperation turned into violence. A man who murdered a young woman because she dared to say no. Yoon's legacy isn't just about the tragedy of her death. It was the critical conversations her death has sparked. It's about the changes that need to happen and how we protect creators, how we understand obsessive behavior, and how we hold powerful people accountable. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in any of the warning signs we discussed, the obsessive thinking, the financial manipulation, the inability to accept boundaries, please reach out to a mental health professional. If you know someone exhibiting these behaviors, please report it. Yoon deserved to live. She deserved to pursue her dreams. She deserved to be safe. We can honor her memory by ensuring that what happened to her never happens to another creator again. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you like it. Please share this video and let's keep this conversation alive. Let's demand justice and let's build a safer digital world for everyone. Thank you for watching and peace.